There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. Today's Thursday, November 2nd. Lots to discuss because it is UFC Fight Week, UFC 217 upon us. Also, Bellator slipping in on Friday night, the night before UFC 217 with Bellator 186, one of their world champions, Ryan Bader. He'll be defending his belt. So lots to talk about here. Stuff's already happening on the East Coast. Pennsylvania and New York are the states there that'll be handling those two shows I just mentioned. George Masvidal and Michael Bisping almost getting into it by the elevators. I had a feeling that at some point they would cross paths and words would be exchanged. And obviously Conor McGregor's still in the news talking about his return. Now he's saying he won't return to the UFC unless he's a co-promoter. So we'll be talking about that and, of course, everything else that's unfolding here as we get closer to fight days. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host, Dan Tom, the best fight analyst in the game, joining us as well. The producer back east extraordinaire, it's Danny Otto. Guys, how you doing over there?
Hey, we're doing great. How about you, George?
Good. Tried to switch things around a little bit for you guys. I felt like you guys were maybe putting out a fire to start things off. I thought, what if I just mumble for like 2 minutes, throw out some news, some topics, get those callers fired up. By the way, if you want to call in, it's 866-522-2846, and allow my boys to kind of get settled. But are we all good to go?
We're getting there. But as far as show-wise, yeah, we can do our thing. Dan Tom's a little occupied right now, though. A little.
All right. A little. So, we'll definitely have time to talk, about all these fights that are happening. It's a 2-hour show, for crying out loud. We'll make it to all of them. But how about Conor McGregor goes saying he won't return to the UFC unless he's a co-promoter?
Well, the weird thing is, as crazy as it sounds, he's kind of got Zuffa by the balls right now. And the reason he's got them by the balls is I'm seeing new personalities being created. Okay, we can maybe say something about a Colby Covington, a George Masvidal, these type of guys, right? But I don't see new stars being created. And if there are not new stars, the UFC's in a lot of trouble. Right now, their big horse is Conor, and without him, it's going to make their life miserable. So he actually has a leg to stand on for this type of move. Very few people have gone to battle with Zuffa and come out victorious. I would say Conor's maybe 50-50 in there. So I could see something like this possibly happening. But if it does, boy, does that open the floodgates for everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I think back to some of the interviews where Dana White has said, he'll praise Conor. He usually praises him more when the fights have already been set and we're previewing the fight. But one thing that he said is that Conor has never come back to renegotiate. He signs a deal, he sticks to it. Now, granted, I don't know how good the deals are or how much they escalate. I don't think this is a good idea by the UFC. Because you can already see that other athletes have obviously taken a little bit of the blueprint, applied it to themselves. Some have succeeded, some haven't. But no one else is really Conor McGregor. Nobody else can really do this. You can ask for more. Sure, it's there. It's obviously a company that makes money, but Conor probably has more leverage of the two. But I still believe the UFC has proved that they're almost recession-proof as well, and you know, they could make it through without Conor fighting. They'll find a way, and they'll just develop new stars. I don't know. Will it ever be as good as 2016 when Conor fought 3 times and Ronda fought once, or even the year before? You know, I think between the two of them we had 4 or 5 fights as well. It'll be a while. You know, I don't know. But still, I just don't know. I mean, what do you really give them? Like 1%? I mean, I don't know.
Way
10?
more than that.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's what. And so I just don't know. I don't know if the UFC. I don't know that they really need to per se.
I would give them 25%.
25% of a show?
No. I thought you meant I thought you meant a chance of this happening.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I know he's throwing it out there, but I really don't see it happening, honestly.
You don't?
I think the UFC at some point will buckle down and just say, listen, man, we pay you well. Take that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, the question is this. Does he have to fight? Do you think he has to?
No, but he's his own worst enemy because he loves to fight. He really does. I just don't see him as a stay-at-home dad, Raisin Jr., or those other business ventures. Like, he gets excited for a moment. Hey, the whiskey, it's in his hand. He just knows that he fought well, whether he won or lost. The whiskey, it's coming. The suit, what do you think? But the other days of the year, he is itching to fight, man. He even says, I mean, look at how excited he gets when Artem's fighting. Mm-hmm. He's outside. He's basically shadow boxing, you know, while he's outside. They have to run him off. And he even said as much in a recent interview that he did. As he's home, he's just moving around. He can't watch the fights without moving around. Think how Chuck Liddell used to do the same thing. He loves to fight, and therefore he'll come back. I think he'll realize he's paid well. You know, this probably is just a newsmaker. That's it, a newsmaker headline. That's all it is.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think when it'll sink in for him is usually when you're making these big expenses, right? A house, a car, suits, that type of thing. When you go over it with your accountant and they say, all right, well, here's what's going out and here's what's coming in. And you kind of justify it. When money stops coming in, I think is when you start, people don't really, it's hard for them to dial back on the other stuff, right? So I think that's when it sets in. Man, maybe I do really need to fight. I got a lot of money, but I also like the lifestyle, and I think the lifestyle is addicting. And I think that goes for everyone. And
you got to pay your taxes. You know, when you get to his level, maybe it's even 4 times a year. You know, you pay him quarterly, whatever. But I'm telling you, there is something about fight week and having that big spotlight on you, and having 50 reporters fighting to ask you a question and gushing at you at your every answer, and you being the center of attention on ESPN and the BBC and Fox or whatever. I just think that is very captivating. It's a magnetic force that these fighters, a lot of them, can't get away from.
Does that set in now, though?
Not to mention just the rush of even winning the fight. Excuse me?
Does that set in now, though?
Throughout the year, they all want to fight. They all want to fight more than they should. You know
I think
what I mean?
for him, it'll set in like 6 months from now.
Well, had he won the Mayweather fight, yes, but he lost it, so he hasn't tasted victory since last November, and now they're back in New York. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't know. That's how I read him. I have nothing to do with psychology. I don't have a background or anything. I've just lived. That's all. And I've interviewed a lot of these fighters and gotten to know them and observe them, and the same goes for other athletes. You know, they miss a certain type of competition. Some of them make their money, they get married, sail off in the sunset, and that's fine, you know. But others, the ones that are great, they just chase this legendary status. They want to cement themselves. They want to write their legacies, cement their legacies, and I believe Conor fits under that second profile.
All right, yeah, I can see that. I still think it's all money driven, though. Very hugely for him. I know he loves to fight, and I do believe that. But I still feel like money is what drives him.
The only thing I could think of is he's just saying, I want more money, obviously. But I don't see them buckling down and saying, you are now a co-promoter, or you. I mean, he is saying he wants to see what's it called, McGregor Promotions or whatever that is, the logo. He wants to see it there, but I just, man, I don't see it. I don't think it'll happen. I really don't. I think they'll put their feet down and just say, look, what do you pay? What do we pay you? $5 a pay-per-view? Make it $6. Whatever. But they're not going to do that. Yeah. How many more fights does he have? And then to disrupt everything, because then it'll be a race to see who's the next person that can kind of do something like this.
That's the thing. That's the slippery slope they want to avoid.
The precedent isn't good. All right. Also, did you catch Masvidal and Bisping going at it? That can't be much of a surprise, right? Ever since Bisping has tortured Yoel Romero, through social media and through his podcast and his former show on Sirius, Romero would fire back, but he's limited. He doesn't speak English, speaks very little. And then of course now Romero's out of the middleweight sweepstakes. So one guy that came to his defense is George Masvidal. He's a teammate of Yoel Romero's, and he's a fellow Cuban. And of course, I think one thing that set him off was Bisping ripping up that Cuban flag.
Yeah, I asked George about this when he was on our show. What's going to happen when you see him? And he said, I know I'm going to see him. I know eventually our paths are going to cross, and when it happens, it's not going to be good for Bisping. And Bisping has to know that, too. When you do something like that, man, I mean, okay, yeah, Cuban fighters in the UFC, you got to worry about them. But nowadays, the way people react, you got to worry about everyone, dude. A statement like that, ripping up a flag, you're in a lot of trouble, dude. And people don't get over shit like that, so... I mean, Bisping did what he did. He kind of stood his ground, and George stood his. But luckily, they were both on the same card. But had they not been fighting on the same card, I'm not so sure that would have gone as well as it did.
Yeah, and unfortunately, towards the end, there was a homophobic slur uttered by Mr. Masvidal. Again, I think we fall back. We had a long conversation about this yesterday. I don't believe that any of these fighters are homophobic. I don't know. I'm just saying, at least the ones we've discussed, it's just unfortunate that these words get thrown around. For one, aside from them being hurtful to some, they are just not acceptable on the professional level. So I don't know what's to come of that. But you know what I really don't understand, is it was his manager that actually put the video out. Not Malky Kawa, but his brother. He's got another brother that works with him, who, from what I hear, does a great job for his clients. But look, this is a fucking 2-hour show. I don't want to spend a lot of time, so just give me this. All I'm saying is, if I'm the manager and I hear that, I still put the video up. I just edit that out. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But regardless, what I don't want to hear is, well, let's go back to the client using the word. No, we're just speeding through this. We've already stated that that's unfortunate that that's happened. We spent some time on it yesterday. But now let's get to the part where I think the managers could have edited, and boom, that would have been... Because at least that seems to be the one video that's being tossed around. Now, granted, there are other people with cameras, so even if his disappears, there were other ones there, and eventually would have came out anyway, or maybe even Bisping could just accuse him of it. Who knows? So best case scenario is obviously lose the word from your vocabulary. But I just don't understand how at that moment the manager failed to react. And we've said it. The athletes have to fall back on their families, their friends, the people around them. Anybody that's not getting the way sports is functioning nowadays. Educate yourselves. But I'll tell you what, if your manager's kind of in the same boat as you, well, you're really hurting,
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have edited the word out. I just wouldn't have put it out at that point and just hope. I mean, I saw about 3 or 4 cameras, and I'm pretty sure 2 of them were UFC. So they're not gonna want to put it out, and if they did, they would edit it. So then you just gotta hope that last person doesn't put something up. And
but if you do put it out, you edit it, right?
If you do, yeah, absolutely. Why would you put it out with the? Yeah, I mean that's just a dumb move. It's
as simple as that. Yeah. We're going to be talking to one of our guests pretty soon here. His name's Duane Ludwig. He corners TJ Dillashaw. He's his head coach. He's been his head coach the past few years, even when they were together at Team Alpha Male. We'll be talking to him. We'll be also talking to Jason, the intern, recapping episode 8, I believe, of Tough 26. That season was on a little 2-3 week hiatus. They popped back in, dropped one on us yesterday. We'll talk more about Gaethje versus Alvarez and what's happening there. We'll also talk to... Oh, we're ready to go?
We are
ready to go. Okay, all right. I'll let you guys know about the other part of the schedule as we continue. And also, I'd be remiss to not congratulate the Houston Astros on a win yesterday, 5-1. They defeated the LA Dodgers. That completes the baseball season for 2017. Both young teams, and you could very well see them right back at it again tomorrow. All right, Duane Ludwig is our guest now. He'll be in the corner for the co-main event fighter TJ Dillashaw as he challenges Cody Garbrandt for the UFC Bantamweight title. What's up, Duane? How you doing?
Thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. What's up is the title fight. Looking to get the belt back around TJ's waist, and that's going to happen Saturday night, so I'm excited for that.
You know, it's funny. We're watching the embeddeds. We've been watching the countdowns, and TJ just seems to be very relaxed, distancing himself from drama from 2-3 years ago and just focusing on getting better and getting his title back. I really like seeing, the path you guys have taken towards this fight.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, just doing what we've always set out to do and just focus on ourselves, be selfish, and use this time to improve and basically mind our business, not to create any drama, just to focus on the task at hand, and that's improving each and every training session and making sure that we get on top of the world, where we belong. Well, I'm saying we, like I'm Duane. I am part of it, I guess, right? But I don't take any TJ's credit. So helping TJ get back on top of the world.
All right, well, now one thing that did stand out is obviously now he's living in Southern California. He's working with Mark Munoz. He's working with strength and conditioning. But obviously you're still a pillar. You're still the head coach. Is this something like he ran by you and that you have to approve of, and you have input like that? Or does he really handle it all on his own and you just kind of do your thing?
Well, it's a combination of a couple of things. I'm not going to go over here close to this interview. It's a combination of a couple of things. We have a really good working relationship, and I want to make sure that the way I care about it, I'd like to make sure that I'm somewhat involved. I mean, he's his own man, right? But I just want the best for TJ. So if that's going back to Southern California or that's going to train at TriStar or going anywhere, I just want the best for TJ. We have a great working relationship, and again, if he needs to go travel the world and training other perspectives, then I'm all for that because I want TJ at his best. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way mixed martial arts has been. I mean, the first name in it is mixed martial arts. So there's very few places that are great in all aspects. I mean, you need to travel and train and search out other places. I mean, League of St. Pierre's always done that. The main guys have always done that. That's just the way it was, especially in the beginning, and it's still the case today. I mean, there's expert boxers, expert kickboxers, expert, strength conditioning coaches, expert mixed martial artists as well. But he needs to travel and train and do what he needs to do to pull out his full potential. I mean, the career path is a short-lived journey. It's, roughly 10 years of fighting that a human can participate in at a high level. And he just needs to get all the work in that he can while he's, that's just part of being true to himself. One of the things like Kyokushin Karate means the ultimate truth. Find out exactly what works in a combative situation. And now, fast forwarding 60, 70 years, that's how the UFC is going about, is find out exactly what works. So to find out exactly what works, you need to travel and train other perspectives, and that's exactly what he's doing, and that's what he needs to do as a mixed martial artist, and staying true to himself, not staying true to a team or anybody else, but staying true to himself. So that's what I'm most proud of. TJ's is always traveling and training and getting better. But short story, to answer your question, does he have to run it by me? No. Does he? Yes. Do we talk? Yes. I guess give you a short answer, right? I always trail off. I'm sorry.
No, I always felt like there was a nice respect between him and you, so I knew he always valued his opinion. So I obviously when he was in Colorado, you were probably more hands-on, and now you're at an hour's flight away or whatever. But it seems like you guys, your communications is top notch, and therefore exactly what's happening.
And with our system and how we train, all our combos and drills are named and numbered, so it's just he's got the framework laid out already. He knows what to do. It's the same thing like when I was running class in Sacramento. I laid out the framework. I brought in an actual system for everyone to follow. That was one of the reasons why everybody got better. Was just having an actual schedule and things laid out and having specific drills and combinations named and numbered. So just laying out the framework, he knows what he needs to do based off of that.
He says he really enjoys working with his new strength and conditioning coach. His cardio is a lot
that guy's
better.
Awesome.
What have you noticed? Does he hit harder or go longer in practice? Like, is there anything that you've noticed from your end that what
he's much
TJ can now
happier.
deliver?
That's what I've noticed. His spirits are much higher. He's happier in California. But also when we train hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, his cardio is endless. So before, he wasn't as in as good a shape. So what I'm referencing to as far as him being happier, he can go as 100% hour, 2 hours, and he doesn't, lose any steam. So if we can continue to work at a high pace the whole time, then, we're both happy. If we have to pull back and we're tired, or if there's an injury and we can't get the work in that we need to get in, then it's not as rewarding. So with him being in great, phenomenal shape and being healthy and happy, it's been a really awesome camp.
Duane "Bang" Ludwig, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He'll be in the corner of TJ Dillashaw as TJ Dillashaw looks to regain his UFC bantamweight title this Saturday at UFC 217 in the co-main event of that card. He'll be challenging Cody Garbrandt. All right, let me send it over to the boys at the Mandalay Bay. Goes and Dan, you have for Duane Ludwig.
Duane, where would you say Cody Garbrandt ranks as far as on the list of puzzles that you've had to solve?
Puzzles I've had to solve. Well, we'll see if the puzzle gets solved on Saturday night. But I know Cody. I didn't work with him a lot. I mean, I held mitts for him one time, and he did my classes for a couple months, here and there, and he would be traveling back and forth. So we never spent a lot of time together. But I feel I do know him pretty well, and then from watching his fights and then knowing. I mean, if you listen to them in the corner, they're still calling the same combinations that I brought to the team. So I know them pretty well, but as they should, and Buckles is a really good coach. I mean, he really is. I love all those guys. Let me say that. Can you guys quote me on this? I love all the Alpha Male guys. It sucks that there's drama. I've had drama between Faber and I, and it's carried over into the team now. But between the team and I love those fucking guys. I really do. Like we had a lot of great memories together, and it sucks to kind of be in this position. The drama was between Faber and I, and it split over into the team again. But again, man, I love those guys, and the fight on Saturday, the way I perceive it, for me, like a moral aspect, as far as just trying to make sure it's not, how can I say, a true animosity, but the fact that they're getting paid to spar on Saturday night. I mean, they used to spar all the time for free. Now they're going to get paid for it, and that's an easier way for me to look at this situation. But puzzle to solve on Cody, I feel that he's pretty easy puzzle to solve, but you can't take anything for granted in the sport. When you're doing split seconds and fractions of an inch, we got to stay sharp and make sure that we're ready to go.
The free sparring sessions that they would have in the practice room, are those useful at all now, or has too much time passed since then?
We'll find out Saturday, but it also depends on what's taken place between that time and now. Did he regress? Did he get worse? Is he the same? Did he get better? We'll find out Saturday night. But what was happening in those sparring sessions is they were really good sparring sessions. They really were competitive. But TJ, in my eyes, had the upper hand in most of the rounds.
Interesting, very interesting, Duane. You also mentioned Kyokushin karate earlier, and man, one of the Kyokushin. One of the most popular Kyokushin black belts is coming back this weekend, man. George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping.
Yeah, so awesome.
You're the man at breaking stuff down. Do you have a breakdown you can give us, Duane, for that fight? How you see that going between Michael Bisping and George?
I see it going to a decision. I see George again. He just gets marked up pretty easy anyway. Bisping always comes to fight, but so does George. And there are some X factors because George has been out for how long? 4 or 5 years now, huh? How long has he been out?
Yeah, 4.
4 years. So 4 years, so there's a lot of unknowns, for him, for his camp, for me and the fans. So we'll see how he comes back. But, man, TriStar and Faraz and St. Pierre, they're very, very smart. So I'm sure that if he's coming back, it's just the right moment, and they know exactly what they're doing. So I don't foresee any hiccups. I see only improvements when it comes to that bell sounds, and I'm definitely excited for that fight. But how do I see the fight going out is a decision, and I see St. Pierre winning a decision. But, again, you can't ever count out Bisping.
There you have it, folks. One of the best in the business, Duane "Bang" Ludwig, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. One of the best coaches, a former fighter, also a record holder for fastest KO in the UFC. Follow him on Twitter at Duane Bangcom. Coach, thanks for the time as always. Good luck on Saturday night.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll see you.
Have a good day. Thanks.
You too. All right, folks, we're going to take a commercial. When we come back, we'll talk to Jason Buchamer, Jason the intern, who will be recapping last night's episode of the Ultimate Fighter. We may be able to squeeze in a call or two. 866-522-2846. Stay close. We'll be right back.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, folks, listen, The Ultimate Fighter has been off for a few weeks. Yesterday was the World Series, so for whatever reason you didn't catch last night's episode and you're one of them spoiler geeks, then maybe step away for about 10 minutes. Go take a shit or a shower or something. Jason Buchamer will recap that with us. But before that, we are going to squeeze in longtime Astros fan Jeffrey Harris from Texas, who now lives in L.A. We know him as Jeffrey from L.A., but we all know that Astros fan. He wants to cash in on that ticket. He's been telling us all these years about them beloved Astros, all them crazy stories. Hell, I think he was wearing, I'm not sure, but I think he was wearing a Nolan Ryan shirt when I hung out with him in Anaheim. Cain Velasquez versus Junior DeSanto. So it all makes sense. But let's bring in Jeffrey Harris. What's up, Jeffrey? How you doing?
Go, Astros!
Not backing down.
Burning with desire. Here come the Astros, breathing orange fire. Here come the Astros, with winning on their mind. Here come the Astros, #1 every time. Hey, Goes, how was that steak dinner last night? When are you going to make me that steak dinner, my man? That's the steak dinner I want the next time I see you. You better have it ready, Goes.
I'm pretty sure you've had a steak dinner already by this time at 10:30 a.m., but I can make it one.
You had your lightsaber out. You were looking all mean mugging. All I heard before this series was no bullpen. No bullpen, no bullpen, no bullpen. Well, guess what? We got Peacock, we got Verlander, we got Morton, and we shelled you Darvish. So you know what? Respect to the Dodgers. They were a good team. They fought their freaking hearts out. This was, as Alex Rodriguez said, this was Goliath versus Goliath. That's the only thing he said right in like 40 years. Both these teams gave each other everything they had and more. This is the greatest World Series baseball has ever seen. And Gorgeous George, don't think I didn't hear you talking trash to me while we were off the air. I grew up at the Astrodome. I grew up watching the Killer Bees.
You never mentioned them before.
There was a time where the Astros...
There was never a time you mentioned them before.
Well, when the last time we made it to the World Series was 2005.
Yeah, but still, along the way, we have these shows where you proclaim who you're going to root for. We're friends on Facebook. We've known each other for a while. I've never seen you wear Astros gear. I've never really heard you talk about Nolan Bryan being an inspiration for you. I've never heard you say, hey, we got a problem every time the Houston Astros maybe sweep the Angels or the Dodgers. Nothing like that. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
91.
I mean,
91 was the last time the Redskins won. People know I'm a Redskin fan.
Exactly. Yeah.
You are Gorgeous George. You are fake news. Later, everybody.
Oh, man.
All right, I guess I'm fake news. You got me, but I don't know about all that. Now, look, if this was the Longhorns, if the Longhorns had just beaten USC or the Longhorns had just beaten the Buckeyes or the Crimson Tide or something, I'd go, ooh, Jeffrey's going to call in. We all know he's a fan of the Longhorns. But I really didn't know that he was an Astros fan. It makes sense.
Jeremy Botter, I know him.
He's
claimed it over and over.
Yes, Joe from H-Town, I gave him his. Marcel Woodard, well, I gave him about 90%. Yeah, high five. Not a solid high five, but still, just because he's tricked me from time to time. Well, yeah, I hate certain sports, and, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan over here. So, it's not really, like, too consistent, but still, he was in there.
Cormier came out of nowhere, too.
But a little bit, and his buddy Sean Bunch punked him on social media. He put out a picture of Cormier in Indians gear.
Ooh.
So I'd like to see more of an explanation for Cormier. It could just be that when you're with Fox and somebody outfits you, sometimes you're just polite. Others, hey, they stand by their roots. I'm like, fuck no, get that shit off me. Who knows? But that's funny because even Cormier retweeted it. I'm not outing anybody, but again, it was a great game. I'll politely disagree with Jeffrey and anybody else that said this is the best series ever. It wasn't. Game 6 and Game 7 weren't really close, and you really need to close strong for to be in that talk. It's probably top 10, top 20 or whatever. But Game 5 could be number 1. For sure, top 3 games I've ever seen. That was something else, and it was a nice revival by baseball. Which the ratings were through the roof, and obviously some big markets were in there towards the end. I'm stealing that from Colin Cowherd. I was watching that, but he made great points. When you have the Yankees, the Astros, the Cubs, and the Dodgers as your Final 4, and I believe if you look at the U.S. Census, those are the top 4 most populated cities in the United States. That would make sense that there'd be a nice pop. But either way, a great game between the two. And like I said earlier, I wouldn't be shocked if both teams made it next year because they're pretty stacked. They're very young. In fact, I think the Westgate's already installed the Dodgers at 5-1 for 2018. All right, enough of that. We'll get back to more of that if Goes wants to discuss. If not, whatever. But right now we're going to talk to Jason Buchamer on Twitter at JasonBuchamer8. He will recap the latest episode of The Ultimate Fighter Season 26. What's up, Jason? How you doing?
I'm good, guys. What about you?
Yeah, Jason.
Doing great.
Goes, how are you?
I'm okay. I was really bad last night, and then this morning I heard some news that got me to put all that on the back burner, and now I'm focusing on this that I'm excited about.
Oh,
Goes, you know what?
Can I find out, or?
You can. I don't want to say it over the air because a lot of people, they're not welcome, but I can tell you. Yeah.
Is it news that'll make my tail wag?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, send it, fool, while Jason's doing his thing. Send it
I put it in
in
the chat, and you didn't give a fuck.
Oh, that's great. I thought it was something else. Okay. All right, that's cool. Jason?
Goes, I can relate. I'm a Seahawks fan. I grew up with my dad watching games at the Kingdome and stuff. And you know what? It's a heartbreaker, so I can kind of feel your pain because Super Bowl 49 on the goal line and we didn't run the ball. So you know what? Yeah. If you need a shoulder to lean on, I'm right here because I felt that pain too.
Thank you, Jason Buchamer.
No worries. Anytime.
Okay.
Proceed, Jason Buchamer.
Okay. We're gonna talk about.
He wasn't really going to lean his head on your shoulder. I mean, it was proverbial, and we had the pause, and now we move on.
You thought I was going to say, like, how about November 25th? That good for you?
Yeah, that was a good time. I can fly down. So yeah, let's talk about the Ultimate Fighter, man. Preliminary round is in the books, and I have to say, good season so far. Because you know why? We've witnessed some seasons where there's just been some stinker fights, where people don't go for it, and they just try to cruise on a decision, and Dana White gets up there and goes, guys, they're in the Ultimate Fighter. This is a chance of a lifetime, and no one does anything with it. And I have to admit, this season, these women have been going out, getting the finish, putting on spectacular fights, and even if it goes to decision, it's an absolute war, and these women are putting it all on the line. So when it comes down to fights this season, it's been phenomenal. But this was the closing episode of the preliminary round, and as soon as they said previously on the Ultimate Fighter to set up this episode, and they had Lauren Murphy and Eddie Alvarez, I knew there was going to be some drama again, and that's exactly what happened. As we know, Eddie Alvarez and Lauren Murphy haven't been seeing eye to eye. It all kind of started because Lauren Murphy was trying to look past her opponent a little bit and saying, hey, down the road, I know I'm going to match up with this person. Can we work on some stuff to stop this takedown? And Eddie Alvarez kind of said, like, hey, look, everybody in this tournament's here for a reason. Don't be looking at the semifinals when you haven't even booked your ticket to the quarterfinals yet. You have a fight coming up in the preliminary round. So Eddie Alvarez kind of shunned that a little bit, and Lauren Murphy had her fight, and Eddie Alvarez was kind of right. She lost. There was the biggest upset. She was the number 3 seed, and she's out of the tournament. The next day, she didn't show up for morning practice, and Eddie Alvarez, he's kind of an old-school guy, right? He's kind of, you lost, suck it up, let's get back to it, come in and make yourself better. But not everybody reacts like that. So Lauren Murphy took the morning off, and that's kind of where everything collided. They kind of had an argument. Lauren Murphy was like, don't tell me what to do, you're my coach, but, you're only my coach for a short amount of time. Eddie Alvarez kind of like, you're on my team, do what I say, I'm the coach here. And then it all kind of collided. Lauren Murphy kind of went around the house to her team and said, look, I'm going to jump ship to Justin Gaethje's team, to the blue team. I hope you guys are cool with that. Her teammates were cool with that, kind of say like, hey, do whatever is best for you. Went to the blue practice in the morning and kind of told Eddie Alvarez later that day, But, I mean, my question to you guys is, who's right and who's wrong? If you're Eddie Alvarez, can you be upset at that? Because I can kind of relate. He's a coach, and you're coming up to him and saying, like, hey, what you're doing, I don't think it's better than what the blue team is doing. So I'm going to go over there because I think what they do is better for me. And you kind of got to take that personally, but not really. But Eddie Alvarez did. I mean, I felt bad because Lauren Murphy made a card to all the coaches and kind of said, oh, no, it's just some stuff happening. I want to jump ship. And here you go, I made you a card saying thanks. And Eddie Alvarez just shut that down, didn't even want the card, and just kind of was pissed off. And he was personally offended, I guess, because that's the way he reacted. And it just kind of blew up in Lauren Murphy's face. But, yeah, who's in the right and who's in the wrong? She's out of the tournament, so do you really care if she jumps ship? Is it right to jump ship and kind of leave your team? What do you guys think?
Well, she went and she talked to all her teammates, and I think, well, this is what she said, right? I mean, we didn't really see it, but it seemed like if they're on board with it, she's on board with it. The coach kind of doesn't really have that much of a choice at that point, and he kind of made it clear, like, maybe like a cancer's gone, you know? And so he seemed happy about it. The only one thing that made him look silly was when he called her Barb, and she was like, my name's Lauren. Like, I mean, that kind of does show maybe, like, you're not paying attention enough, but other than that, I mean, I guess it played out okay.
You know, guys, I didn't see the episode, but I saw that preview, that tease. Did he say that, you know, once it was shown on the show, did he say it sarcastically?
No.
Or did he really goof up?
I think he goofed up. How about you, Jason?
Okay. Well, Jason?
Yeah, he totally goofed up. I just think he was so upset and at the situation, because Barb's on his team, right? So I just think he was so upset. He was like, Barb wants to leave, and didn't really even think about it. And she kind of, like Go said, screamed at him like, I'm Lauren. He was like, oh, yeah, you're Lauren. But I think he was just pissed off and kind of just wanted to storm back and make a point out of, you know, you can't leave my team like that. Because I think he was offended by, even though it was okay with her teammates and it was okay with her, I think he was offended because I think he took it as Justin Gaethje and his coaching staff can give you something more than I can, and I think that offended him in that way.
So when we had Eddie Alvarez on a few weeks ago, we asked him about this, and he wasn't too perturbed about her missing that morning practice after the fight. He said it was, I mean, obviously he would have preferred she be there, but he didn't seem to think that was really much, you know, that he recalled. He said that it was just something that had been brewing all along, and he went on to explain that, like, just even early on in the season, according to him, Lauren just wanted more control of the matchups, and whether it was a teammate or, you know, somebody on Team Gaethje, she just seemed very controlling of what she wanted, and I guess that's a little bit where the conflict started. So I think that towards the very end, the fact that she was gone, he was probably okay with it. Like I said, I didn't see the episode, so I need to see it. I just read the recap on Junkie, so I was a little familiar with it. You know, I know that now Gaethje's team is up by 3 and all that, and I know the matchups. I'll let you handle that, Jason. But as far as that's concerned, it just seemed like it was something that was brewing for a while.
Yeah, and it was, and it just came to a point where I think it's better if she leaves. I really do. I think she did it in the nicest possible way too. I mean, wrote a card even though he didn't accept, and kind of went around to her teammates. It's not like we've seen in the past where she just shows up at the next team practice and kind of did it, you know, behind everybody's back. She did it in the best possible way. So Alvarez didn't like it, but in the end, I mean, it came from a place of, you know, this is what I have to do, and she didn't do it in the bad way. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to be friends down the line, but hey, this is a fight game. Not everybody can like each other.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the fight,
we had our last round of 16 fight, and like you mentioned, there's been a lot of finishes. But talk about the Emily Whitmire Christina Marks fight.
Yeah, Christina Marks, kind of a rocky start to her career. She's 8-8 now, but she's won 3 of her last fights on a 3-fight win streak. So you know what? She's picking it up late in her career. Good Muay Thai stand-up. I mean, they talked about how athletic she was. She was a track star and all this, so she has explosiveness. But Emily Whitmire, strong ground game, good game plan. She's 2-1 coming into this tournament. And Big John McCarthy kind of said, let's go and fight. And Emily Whitmire is friends with Miesha Tate. She trained up in the Pacific Northwest here and then moved down to Vegas to train with her. And she kind of, Miesha Tate said, hey, throw that right hand, shoot on the legs. And that's exactly what she did. It took about 3-5 seconds, shoot her the right hand, double leg takedown. Marks was on her back, and she did a good job. When she got on her back, you know what, Eddie Alvarez kind of saying, I got to train her so when she's on her back, I'm not going to train her these jiu-jitsu skills, but I will give her the game plan so when she gets on her back, how to get up and get back to the stand-up where she wants to fight. So I think he did a good job there. She scooted her hip to the cage, tried to use the cage to push off of, to reverse it. There was a scramble. Emily got her back, and she did a good job of shaking her off, and shook her off, and she looked like she wanted to go in on the attack. But when she did, Emily caught that arm very quickly, and just verbal submission like that. It was a very quick fight. It was, they don't have the time up here, but I would say it was less than 30 seconds easily. But, I mean, Emily was just, I feel, more experienced on the ground, and she just caught her in armbar submission that Christina just wasn't prepared for. And it's just like that. Christina Marks is out of tournament, and Emily moves on to the quarterfinal round.
Yep, so we have quarterfinal matchups, but before we get to that, this is the episode that's Dana White's favorite. He's told us that 26 times because the fighters get to take a break, and now the coaches get to go at it. Not necessarily go at it in terms of a fight, not like in some previous seasons where they do that at the end of the season, but they had the coaches challenge.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see what they're going to do, right? I mean, last year for Cody Garbrandt and TJ, they had, like, balance. You have to balance on this beam and play tetherball, right? So this was a little more simpler one. It was swimming. I believe it was 400 meters, but, man, swimming is very tough, and it takes a lot of cardio, and that's why you see so many MMA guys swim, is because it's very good for your cardio. So Justin Gaethje came out like he always does, just like his fights, strong as ever. And he was taking the lead on Eddie Alvarez, and I just love when Eddie Alvarez said, you know what, you start out like he always does, fast as always, and I had to pace myself. And he said, you ever notice those old people at the gym that, you know, they go so slow, but they can go for like 2 hours of straight swimming? And I just remember seeing that all the time whenever you're at like a rec center or something. And it's like, yeah, those old people, they go slow, but they do go for like 5 hours at a time. So he just took his time and eventually caught up to Justin Gaethje and ended up passing them and, you know, won the 10 Gs and ended up winning 1,500 for his team. But without Lauren Murphy on his team, it went up to like $200. So his team was happy about that.
That I didn't know. Yeah, okay, so because she left the team, she didn't get it?
No, so so she didn't get her 1,500, so everybody else on the team got 1,700. So, I mean, $200 in your pocket, not too bad. But credit to Justin Gaethje because he was obviously losing the swimming race, but he said, I couldn't give up, I couldn't concede, I had to finish it, and he was just swimming along and ended up finishing it. But, man, that's taxing swimming that fast and hard like that. So I think after he went, they had to do 4 laps, and after the second one, he kind of knew he was done because he just emptied out the gas tank. But that was a fun one. It was quick. I mean, it wasn't the best one. I kind of like the Conor McGregor Urijah Faber where they had to, it didn't use any, you know, physical activity where they had to drop the watermelons on the target from the helicopter. But it was a fun one, and I'm just, you know, Eddie Alvarez was a little pissed, but I guess $10,000 makes up for it in the end.
Jason, did they make note of it? You know, like did they make a little storyline around Lauren leaving and her not being able to get that? Or was there comments from anybody regarding that?
Oh, yeah. They had, I believe, Sahara Eubanks on there, and she kind of said, like, oh, you know, we have a left team member on this, so we get some extra cash, and we get $1,700 instead. And she's all, you know, smiling, big grin on her face, and that kind of showed Lauren Murphy. So I kind of felt bad. Maybe she could have did an episode later and get some pocket money. But in the end, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, they kind of made light of how she lost out on some money.
I wonder how close in the timeline that actually took place, you know, because sometimes they show things out of order. But I wonder if it came down to, like, a few days, a day. Like, how close were they to that?
I have no clue. I mean, the worst possible scenario if it happened, like, a couple hours before, and then they took the bus to go to this. But, yeah, who knows. But either way, I mean, you know, you see other people getting a lot of money, and you're not. You're like, damn it. So, in the end, I mean, it is what it is, but that must suck. That would suck if you lost on $1,500.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
For not having to do anything? The coach has got to go through everything? Fuck yeah, it sucks.
Exactly.
All right, we're running up against the clock. Tell us what the matchups are going forward. I know they already made them. What do we have in the final 8?
Yeah, so next week's episode is going to be 2 fights in the quarterfinal round. Roxanne Modafferi, who had a great TKO win in the first fight of this season. So she's moving on. She's number 1 seed versus Emily Whitmire. So it's teammate on teammate, number 8 seed for Emily. So that's going to be a good one. Both crafty, strong grapplers. So that's going to be a really good fight to see where that takes place. And the next fight we have on the episode is Sahara Eubanks versus Deanna Bennett. Deanna Bennett had great TKO win as well. Strong ground and pound, and this was my pick from the start. So I'm going to pick her to win. But Sahara Eubanks got one of 3 submissions of the season, so she got an armbar in the second round. So good, strong ground game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the jiu-jitsu of Eubanks and Deanna Bennett, the ground and pound, kind of mix up. And, of course, you have Barb Honchak versus Rachel, and Barb clearly is the favorite going past this long-time Levitica champ. And then Nico Montano versus Montana Stewart in the final quarterfinal round. But 2 fights next week, Roxanne Modafferi, Emily Whitmire, Sahara Eubanks, Deanna Bennett. So it should be a good one.
Awesome. All right, Jason, thanks, man. Great job. We really appreciate it, and great catching up with you here after a few weeks. And congrats to your Seahawks. You're off to a great start. So we'll talk more next week, right, buddy?
So far, so good. Okay, guys, take care.
Easy, Jason.
All right, we'll see you. All right, folks, also, Jason Buchamer does host the Overhand Right Radio podcast. Check it out on iTunes. Give him some love. He's our former intern. He's doing a great job, not only here recapping with us, but on his show. Leave him a comment, too. Those reviews help a ton for that algorithm. All right, folks, we're going to take our last break. Then we'll come back, and we'll set up the second hour for you. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
SiriusXM has your chance to win a trip to the UK to see Billy Joel live at Old Trafford Football Ground, home of Manchester United. It's Billy's first performance at the iconic stadium, and you can watch it from the front row. No additional purchase necessary to enter or win. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Billy Joel Manchester before January 2nd, 2018. All right, as you can see, we are up against the clock. We kind of pushed everything further back there, but we're going to come back strong. We'll take some calls, 866-522-2846. We also have Urijah Faber coming up here in the second hour, and we may have one more surprise guest who's fighting at UFC 217. So stay close, folks. We will be right back on the MMA Junkie radio show. And also a quick note to the editorial. When this show ends at 12 p.m. Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern Time, you will be able to see the press conference out there in New York City for UFC 217. So that should be pretty cool. And, of course, those that catch the show on replay, just go to MMAjunkie.com. That replay will be available there on the front page. We'll be right back. Viva! Folks, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. No, the surprise guest is not Crow Cop. We're still working on surprise guests. But there you have it, Wild Boys by Duran Duran. I see the theme here. We've been playing some Duran Duran. Duran Duran will be in Las Vegas, Nevada, coming up soon. Looks like New Year's is really, really shaping up, huh, guys?
It is, but they want a lot of money for those Duran Duran tickets.
Yeah?
I ain't about that
Oh,
life.
for real?
Yeah.
What'd they say?
They've been here before in Vegas, and tickets are usually like $30, $40. Man, they want 150.
No, they're not that cheap, are they?
Yeah.
30 or 40 for Duran Duran? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they want? 150 as well?
Yeah, they're tripping.
So back to back, the Foo Fighters and Duran Duran, they want 150 each. Well, I guess that's what it is. You know, New Year's Eve just kind of. So the Cosmo calls them and says, "Well, yeah, we'll do New Year's Eve, but you know it's gonna cost you more." I think it just carries on to the consumer, but
probably, yeah.
We'll see. I want to give a shout out to Brian from Boston. I won't get into specifics, but I love that guy, man. He the other day he called in, and he basically called an audible, and it all had to do with the flow of the show, and it was really, really smooth. So thank you to Brian. He, like Go said, he gets it. You don't understand how many times we are in pickles as we're doing the show. We are in
like
some jams, and sometimes we have to make some last-minute decisions for the benefit of just kind of keeping the harmony going, and it's rough waters at times. But that was really, really cool what Brian did the other day. So thank you very much, Brian, for always looking out for us. Look, it's too late to let you know, but they did have a press conference. They do have a press conference coming up, which is open to the public. I just don't know that you'll have enough time to get there. You have about an hour to go. So if you're in New York and you're listening via Facebook or YouTube, you are welcomed at the theater at Madison Square Garden. There will be a press conference, and then fighters will square off around 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The press conference will start at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, if you can't make it, we will be streaming it on MMAjunkie. However, tomorrow, same place, the theater at Madison Square Garden, they will have the UFC 217 weigh-ins. They will start at 6 local time. So at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, and the doors will open at 2. Excuse me, 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. So the important thing is Eastern time, obviously. This is for you East Coasters. If you want to get on down there, free and ticketed to the public. So you got to get your hands on a ticket. Maybe go to the UFC.com website and just see. It's probably something you can just carry on your phone, but you will have to have a ticket. It could be that you also go to the box office, but just don't stumble in like a hobo. You have to have a version of their ticket. They want you to. Let's see here. Oh, that's for media. I was going to give you a separate entrance that you can go through. But just go to the theater at Madison Square Garden again tomorrow. 6 p.m. is what time the weigh-ins start, but the doors open at 5. There is no Q&A. Surprised to see that. Usually they come strong for New York. I would have thought they would have had something like that, because I know they have a couple featured guests doing stuff all over New York. Like I know Robert Whitaker, Francis Ngannou, Cynthia Calvillo, they're making appearances, so maybe that's what they're all about. Who knows? Let's talk to Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What up?
Not much, and you?
That's a mess, man. Doing good, man. I want to give a shout-out, man, to the Happy Warrior, man. I love Roxanne, man. Just think about this, man. For a fighter, you know, it was looking like her career pretty much was at a standstill, that she wasn't going anywhere. And then she had that finish. I'm trying to think of the fighter that she fought in Invicta. And she actually finished the chick. She was a pretty tough girl. And she fought through that, and she finished her, man, and she's been looking real good, man. I know she's a Vegas, a Vegas girl, and you guys probably root for her on the inside, too. And I just want to give her a big shout, and I admire what she's doing, man.
Yeah, she's a cool gal, and she lived a good chunk of her life in Japan and teaching English, I believe it was what she was doing out there. But yeah, I mean, just to see the evolution of her game back then to what it's turned to now, a lot of props have to go to John Wood and her team over there at Syndicate. Have really helped turn her around, and even Misha is really good friends with her, and I know Misha's had a role, I think at one point even managing her for a little bit. So props to that girl. She's a cool girl. We haven't had her on the show as much as we probably like, but we've seen her around.
Hey guys, Showtime dropped. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Showtime. This is one of the ones. It seems like Showtime, we're always rushing them off because we're getting them at the very end, squeezing them in one way or another. So this is one of those times we could have talked for a little more, but that's fine. Yeah, I'll echo what Go said. Very, very nice person. Can't say a bad thing about her, and she's improved her game tremendously. I would have never guessed that she would have been the #1 ranked flyweight in anything that the UFC was going to be having when they launched their flyweight division. And I'm not so sure I agree with it. I think Barb probably earned #1, but it had been 3 years since she fought, or 2 or something like that in Invictus, so maybe that had something to do with it. But Roxanne did improve. She's really, really tough competitor. She works hard. I mean, promotion's lucky to have somebody like herself. She's super smart, and
I love her entrance.
We'll see how this pans out for her. Maybe she might be the first flyweight champion for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We know she'll be a contender for a few years because she's obviously got those skills. But I'm telling you, about 6-7 years ago, you would have never guessed that this was going to be the position she would be in. So hats off to Roxanne.
Can you imagine even going back to when she was fighting in Japan? Just the thought, okay? Just the thought of her ever possibly being a UFC champion, because there wasn't any women in the UFC at the time. And then her division didn't really exist. She was fighting big girls for a long time. Just that thought of that even being a possibility in your career was something that she would never even think of, and now it's a big possibility.
Yeah, no doubt. I do like that Sujara Eubanks, who they're calling Sarge, because she's very strong and her ground game is pretty legit, man. So I'm not sure who Jason predicted is going to win that fight between her and Deanna Bennett, but I think she's kind of like the dark horse, being that she's one of the double-digit ranked type fighters that's in this. So I'm going to keep my eye on her. But she's got a tough matchup next week. Yeah. But I will say this: I'm not convinced that this class of fighters will be impactful in the flyweight division the way the strawweights were. And even the strawweights, the ones at the top aren't from the show, but a lot of them are there. And Carla Esparza's still a top 5, maybe top 3 gal, so she's hanging in there. So they produced the first champion. She lost to Joanna. She dropped the fight to Randa, but she's also won a couple fights, so she's there. Whereas I think the winner of this one, I'm not so sure that fighter's going to really hang out as much. I don't know that there will be many contenders that have come out of the season. But that said, they have fought to finishes, which has made the fights exciting, at least on the show. As far as the personalities, I don't know. I think the strawweight had better personalities. So I just think this division will come slow. But I do believe that in about 3 to 5 years, it could be the most exciting division for the females.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think in a couple of years, that division will be banging for sure. But until then, you're going to see a lot of girls going up, a lot of girls going down, and who knows what that's going to do for that division.
Dude, I got to catch up on last night's episode because Emily Whitner's from Extreme Couture, so I'm glad to hear she did well.
Let's talk to Oreo in Alberta, Canada. What's up, Oreo? How you doing?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Oh, good, man. How about you?
Good. Hey, bro, sorry about last night, man.
Thanks, man. Did you watch the game, though?
I did. I saw a bit of it, and, man, I just thought of you and
thank you, Oreo. I appreciate that. You sound like you're taking it worse than I am, though.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I you got me into being a Dodgers fan.
Yes, I like
just
it.
Listening to the
Beers on me if you come out here, Oreo.
That's good. Hey, back to the 125 thing real quick. Do you think that the UFC flyweight champion will be the number 1 125 in the world, or do you think the Bellator is like the winner is
good question. That's a very, very good question.
Yeah.
I think the road to win the title in the UFC is tougher. That's why we tend to give a little bit more respect to those quality wins and quality losses. Because just day in and day out, and by that I mean, these fights that you take, there's just really not too many gimmies there, In Bellator, you'll see fighters, have some very, very tough fights. Like 170, hey, they have really, really good fights. So I have a lot of respect for the run like Douglas Lima's on. The same thing back in the day with the featherweights. They had a nice contingent, the lightweights, but they're just not deep. And every once in a while, you just get a fight where your stock doesn't go much on a win, go up on a win, and it can drop a ton on a loss. And to answer your question, I think it'll probably be the UFC champion, but the Bellator champion won't be far behind.
I mean, this case is a little different, right? Because, I mean, yeah, Barb Contract is amazing, but her last quality win was 2-3 years ago. And if you beat, so she beat that Jillian chick. I think her record's not that good. And then her next fight, it's against Ostrovich, right? She's, barely over 500. So let's say she gets to the finals. And if you have and let's say Roxanne gets to the finals as well, she beat Shayna Dobson, who's a rookie as well. And I forget who she's fighting in the next one, but you see the wins in the tournament, they're not as quality wins as, say, Illuminate McFarlane or Emily Dakota. So I'm just wondering, maybe this case is a little different because the fighters in Bellator are fighting higher competition than the ones in the UFC. Because the UFC ones are not real contenders, whatever. It was different from the strawweight because the record's really good and had high experience. But this show was like 8. Like the chick last night that lost, it was like 8-8. You know, you're having fighters like 2-1. You know, so it's kind of a little different than the 115ers or any other division in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Have you liked the season so far?
Well, I mean, the only reason why there's finishes, in my opinion, is because you have like the number 1 seed versus the number 16, and one record is like 20 or 15-5, whatever, and then the other one's like 1-1. Like last night, it was like an 8-8 chick versus Emily Whitmire, who's in an amazing camp and has Misha Tate on his side. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're having like super pros versus rookies. So of course you're going to get finishes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the season, I don't like the characters so much, but the fights are good. But it's just because you're having, you know, more experienced guys or from more established camps versus no-name chicks. You know what I mean? So
the short of it is, Oreo, we really won't have a good answer for you for like 2 years. This division just doesn't have much history other than what we've seen at Invicta. So these fights will have to play out to see who really is a big deal, what wins really, really qualify as good wins. It's really tough to give an answer. I probably took the easy route in saying the UFC, but like I said, Bellator's wouldn't be far behind just because, just to me, 125 is still like, you know, a territory that's yet to really be conquered, I guess, by even those that rank them. So we'll all find out soon, my man, because you know they'll crown a champ over at Bellator on Friday, and then the UFC will crown a champ about a month later, and then from there, the pieces of the puzzle will just kind of get together. And I'll say this quick because we have our guest on hold. Look at the 115 season that went down like 3 years ago. They were supposed to be the top 16 in the world. Now go look at the USA Today MMAjunkie rankings. I think of the top 5, only one of them's there. The rest are all either foreigners or they had nothing to do with the season. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like what they use to get things started, but it's not a true representative of where we're at. We got to bounce, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, Oriel, take care.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to go to our next guest. His name is Mickey Gall. He'll be fighting at UFC 217 on Saturday. His opponent will be Randy Brown. What's up, Mickey? How you doing?
What's up, dog? How you doing?
We're doing good. Hey, I really like the mustache. You know, when you and Randy Brown were posing, it looked like you got a nice start to Movember.
Thank you. Yeah, I started Movember this summer. Then, in that case, yeah, man, it's just, you know, I just let it rock a little bit, and yeah, I can't even grow a full beard. I guess I'm still kind of a kid, you know.
Mm-hmm. Also, you know, I've heard you on Sirius XM on our channel 93, and you've done a great job there. So, you know, fellow colleague here, we're also on the Sirius XM channel. But wanted to ask you, Randy Brown, you know, like, talk about this type of a matchup versus the other ones that were highlighted, I guess for different reasons, more on the popularity of the fighter, and whereas, you know, right now, I guess it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a serious tone.
Nah, man, they're all serious. You're going and fighting someone in your underwear. You know what I mean? You're fighting people on TV trying to, wanting to kick ass and not get beat up in front of people. But, no, I feel really good about this one, man. It's probably, I mean, you guys would probably say it shouldn't be on paper, but for some reason, I'm most confident going into this fight. I'm super comfortable. There's less unknowns. And, yeah, I guess this is more of a typical UFC fight. But I also, I think I'm fighting more of a typical fighter, and there's going to be a lot. I just see millions of methods for me to win, and, I'm going to keep this win streak going and get this win on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe I didn't phrase that right. I guess, he does have 3 UFC wins, and you got to give a lot of respect to anybody that can win at this level. And then on the regional circuit, as he was coming up, he also grabbed himself a title. So you can just tell, this is a solid competitor coming up here, but... how about New York City? The fact that you are in New York City, Madison Square Garden. I mean, like I said, just your career's gotten off to such a great start. You've been fighting in these fight capitals like Vegas and New York. It's got to be like a dream come true for you.
Yeah, man. It's really cool. I've been really fortunate, really lucky in my career. And yeah, man, it's cool. I live 40 minutes from here, so I'll have probably like 100 friends, family, people coming over, crossing the bridge. They don't have to, fly out to Vegas or Sacramento or Cleveland or wherever the heck, So that's really cool. And yeah, man, it's, most famous arena, all this stuff. But yeah, I'm going to rock this just like it was in my backyard. I'm going to tear the roof off this place. I'm going to steal the show.
Mickey Gall, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. Let me send it over to the boys at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Goes and Dan Tom, what do you have for Mickey Gall?
Mickey, CM Punk, Sage Northcutt, these are all guys that you wanted to fight, and you were very proactive about all that. I know you don't want to overlook your opponent now, but is there a name that you've already thought about when they hand you that mic when the fight's over?
Yes.
And will Mickey Gall be telling us who that is?
No.
Come on, not even a hint?
Yeah, hint.
Nah, man, no. Just tune in the fight, you'll see. Come on, I can't be doing that. You know how many people ask me for that?
How many people?
But did they ask you the follow-up question, which is the hint?
Yeah. They don't ask for the hint.
Literally, yes.
Okay, but did they ask you the follow-up, which is the hint, and are they fellow colleagues of yours on SiriusXM Rush 93 from time to time when you do some co-hosting gigs?
I wouldn't even get that hint. Who are you talking about?
No, it blew up on my face. All right, we were trying to maybe back. Yeah, he's not going to give you the hint, Goes. Go ahead.
It rhymes with? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Dan.
Mickey, I remember you saying after one of your post fights, talking about 155. Is that still an option for you? And if it is, would you ever consider doing something like Sam Alvey did with the Dan Henderson Revenge Tour? Maybe going a Jim Miller Revenge Tour? I know you're buddies with him.
A Jim Miller Revenge Tour. That's my boy. I would never be. You're going against guys who fought Jim?
Yes, yeah. That's what I mean.
Okay. I thought you were saying like go down and fight Jim. I was like,
no way, no way.
Heck no, man. That's my big bro, man. Here's the thing. I was thinking about 55 when I initially called out Sage Northcutt. I thought I was gonna have to go down to get him. You know what I mean? So I was planning on. Having to drop down. So I was ready for that. But instead, I had heard mumblings about him coming up to 70. And so instead of saying, I'll go down to 55, I was like, I'll just keep my mouth shut and just see how this plays out. And it turned out he did want to come up and do a fight at 170. So now, it is no longer a thing. I decided I was kind of a tweener. I'm no longer a tweener. I put in mad work. And one of the biggest improvements you'll see that I put in over my time off, along with my striking, is just my physical strength. At the beginning of summer, I was walking around at 205 pounds, strong as heck, man. My legs got bigger, you'll see a different muscle about me. I've been working really hard at my strength and conditioning, and yeah, man. So yeah, 70s is my home. I'm gonna be kicking around, beating up 70s for a little while.
If they created, if the UFC was to put in place weight classes of 65 and 75 and remove 70, which one would be your home, 65 or 75?
It's a good question. I'd say I guess I'd be able to bounce between. I would love that personally, because then I'd be able to balance between 65, 75. There'd always be a fun fight for me. and that so I would love that person. I hope that happens. But I don't know. Right now, making 70 is easy. I'm doing it very scientifically. I feel great. Eating carbs all the way up to it, and I might not have to take a bath. I might, you know what I mean? I won't have to sit in a sauna. I'm doing everything right. So I have really good discipline, and I could do either one. I could do either one of those. I don't know which would be my fit. If that becomes a reality, then I'll actually start thinking about that seriously.
We respect the fact that you don't want to divulge the name, but again, one of the cool things about seeing you fight is you have great interviews leading up to the fight. Then, of course, you're obviously undefeated. You've done work inside of the octagon, and then afterwards, everybody does wait and see who you're calling out. Do you believe that that's, in other words, you obviously think of a name, but the call out, you have to flow in a certain way, Do you think more fighters should put more work into that? You have to collect your thoughts. I mean, you guys are in battle, and then, of course, the only time you have is to wipe down, and it's like a minute or two between Bruce Buffer announcing the name. But I still believe that that's such an important facet of the game. That's, what's next for you. Do you think a lot of fighters should get better at that?
I think a lot of fighters are. I think I've noticed a huge wave in call-outs over the past, year or two. I think I'm a reason for that. I think people seeing my success with it has had a lot of, there's been people doing it for years, but now it's become almost mandatory. Like after certain fights, you see these guys, Tony Ferguson just called out McNuggets. He was saying McNuggets, and John Jones calling out Brock Lesnar. There's a million of them. Cyborg's calling chicks out on Instagram. There's a lot of call-outs nowadays, and so I think people are figuring it out. But it's your chance to get your say. You can put your 2 cents in, and it adds a little bit of drama. It makes it a little personal. It makes it fun. We're not just athletes. We're also entertainers as fighters. So yeah, I think it adds to the entertainment factor, and you can control your destiny, your fate a little bit.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody gets a little bit smoother at it. You're one of the smooth ones.
Yeah,
overdo it.
Man.
Some are rough.
There's some clunky ones. They're very cringeworthy. It's people. Sometimes people act out of their character, and that's a problem. If it's not you, take for example a guy like Jim Miller. That's not him. That's not his style. He won't be calling someone out, so he doesn't. But some of these guys are like, let me see if I can become a star now. Do it, and then it comes like I said, it comes off just bad, just fraudulent, and it's cringy.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for making time for us today. It sucks we didn't connect yesterday, but we did connect today. I hope you have a safe weight cut, and we look forward to your fight on Saturday. Thank you for the time on MMA Junkie Radio Show, Mickey Gall.
Thanks, guys. Nice being on here. Appreciate you guys.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Mickey.
All right, folks, follow him on Twitter at Mickey Gall. Again, he'll be fighting Randy Brown on Saturday. Should be a great fight. You can catch that fight on the prelims, brought to you by Fox Sports 1, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Their fight will actually be the first one, so there you go. There's the start time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 Pacific. We'll be right back after this break. Stay close, folks. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Sirius XM Rush 93.
Ooh, he championed in the last 8 years.
They pat down TSA. They are gorgeous.
Or all of it. You got it right there.
Good endorsement.
Just chilling. What are you guys up to?
Not much, man. We're talking about call-outs. There's an art to them. We talked to Mickey Gall a few minutes ago, and we're that's why it's catapulted him onto the verge of being a superstar. You know, now it's all going to be all about title defenses and things like that, super fights. But that was a bit of a gamble. Sometimes people have clowned in the past, and it comes back to bite them. When you and him have had some time,
a great entrepreneur, and you know, he's made some introductions, and it made a lot of sense. So it was cool to see that come to fruition.
All right. For more information, trifectanutrition.com. Check it out, folks. You can get the meals there, see what it's all about. They have a great FAQ of. Did I say that right? Yeah. Frequently questions. FQA something. I was reading that. Frequently asked questions. Yeah. So you.
Man, wait.
Alright, when we write our stoner MMA movie, that's totally going in there. From now on, that should be like a standard question. Like, bro, have you ever noticed that you fight in like the Batman weight division?
What's your favorite dinosaur and why? I asked Cub Swanson. He was into it.
It could just be like a bit that we put on the side or whatever. Like, what does our producer do when fighters are on?
Good, how are you?
Good.
KO of the night, and now it's
of TJ Dillashaw as they take on Cody Garbrandt, the UFC bantamweight division. Garbrandt the champion, Dillashaw the former champion, and now the challenger. Jason the intern came through and recapped last night's episode 8 of The Ultimate Fighter season 26. Mickey Gall joined us. He was going to be on the show yesterday, but we weren't able to connect. And however, we did connect today. He's excited about his fight coming up. He's got his call out ready. He would not divulge. But first, he's got to get past Randy Brown, of course, Urijah Faber, our final guest today. The guy's all over the place. Everything he touches seems to turn into gold. His latest being a nutrition company, Trifecta, and bringing them and the UFC together. So nice score for him. And he, of course, has a busy weekend, too, as a coach, mentor, friend. He'll be with Lance Palmer on Friday, or tonight, actually. Tonight is that fight for PFL. So if you want to check it out, maybe check out MMAjunkie. I believe we might be carrying the fights on MMAjunkie. I'm not sure.
Good.
I think we're carrying it as well. Yeah, sports. But see, Combate landed on NBC.